Hey guys, how's it going? Thanks for joining me for today's verse of the day. Today we actually had finished our reading for the month, and so I'm going back to 1 Samuel chapter 30 today and read that chapter. And this is before Saul died, and I'm going to be reading verse 6, which says, David was now in great danger because all his men were very bitter about losing their sons and daughters, and they began to talk of stoning him. But David found strength in the Lord, his God. In this story, David was in the time of running from Saul. So God had spoken a word over his life that he would be the new king of Israel, but that wasn't happening now. Instead, he was running from Saul, who was trying to kill him. Life was so bad that he actually was living in the land of the Philistines, which was Goliath's people who he had killed. And so to be safer in the land of the Philistines than to be in the land of Israel tells you how hard his life was. He had gathered kind of a big community of guys who were exiles and were kind of rejected by the rest of society, and they had followed him, and they were living in the land of the Philistines. And so what happened is the Philistines were going off to war, and then all of a sudden they rejected David. So now David is not only rejected by his own people, he's now also rejected by the Philistines. So he gets sent back home after attempting to go to war with the Philistines, getting rejected by them. He goes back home only to find out that the Amalekites raided his own settlement. All of their wives and all of their children were gone. They had been kidnapped. And now David finds basically rock bottom. And his men threaten to kill him. So now he's rejected not only by his own people, who God said, one day you'll be king. Not only is he rejected by the Philistines, where he was finding temporary settlement with. Now this band of 600 warriors who had nowhere else to go but David made them his family are now rejecting him as their leader and threatening to kill him. Talk about rock bottom. Where do you go when everyone has rejected you? Where do you go when your people rejected you, when your secondary friends rejected you, and now those that you gave your life for have now rejected you? There was only one place left to go, and it says David found strength in the Lord his God. This is a reminder for us today that sometimes our friends and our family won't be there for us. Sometimes our church won't be there for us. Sometimes your pastor won't be there for you. Sometimes your husband, your wife, your kids, your parents, they just won't be there for you. And maybe they should have been, but they're not. Here's what I want you to know. You can always call on God. And David, in this moment of trial, there was no one else that could bring him strength. But David called upon the Lord, and he found strength in the Lord. One translation says, David refreshed himself in the Lord. We've been talking about the secret place in church, and let me tell you, when you go to the secret place, sometimes it's the only place you're going to find strength or refreshment. So that's my encouraging word for you today. David actually refreshed himself in the Lord. Then he took his guys, and they went and rescued their wife and children. And it worked out good for them in the end. But let me tell you, unless you get the strength and refreshment from the Lord, sometimes you just don't have what it takes to move on. And so we got to go to the Lord for that strength and that refreshment and let the Lord minister to our soul, so then we have what it takes to continue on, even though the battle might not be easy. Hey, thanks for joining me for the verse of the day, 1 Samuel chapter 30, verses 6. God bless you guys.